known Margaret now for a number of years. We used to have a place where we'd meeting. It was an old sort of building. We had to leave it because the person didn't want to spend any money on it, because when it rained, the water would come down the electrics there, and we thought, oh, it's not too safe to be there. But amazingly enough, they've still got the sign up there, the church at Mooper meets here. And they could have painted it over at any time, but there's a reason for it, I'm sure. But the church at Mooper meets wherever 2 or 3 of us can gather. And so that was where you slept in there for a time, wasn't it? That was a place where you lived for a time. And she's been an inspirational singer. She's been singing, she has her own songs as well. And I didn't know that there would be a story here today. And, you know, it takes a lot of bravery to bring out things like I could sense with Kim. You don't do those things lightly. You don't have to bare your heart to every person that comes along. Because I tell you what, we've all got secrets, haven't we? Yes. There'll come a day where there'll be no secrets. No one will be able to lie about anything. We'll be able to say, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me lying. It wasn't me. It was that woman you gave me. You'd be aware of that, wouldn't you? So you see, the beauty of it is that we have a God who knows us inside out. And any secret that's going to bind us down, he wants to free us from. After all, Jesus knows us inside out, back and front and upside down, so it's just as well to get used to him being God and us being with him for eternity. Because when we get to eternity, who's going to be interested in the things that have happened down here anyway if we've been forgiven? Sometimes we get to think, don't we, that everyone knows deep things within our past. But there is a God in heaven who knows how to shut people up, who want to drag us into the mud again once the mud's been cleaned up through the blood of Jesus. So I'm going to hand over to you now. Thank you, mate.
Can't get there.
I can't get there. Climb through the roof. Thank you. Oh, now.
Hello. It's funny because normally when I have a mic and I'm in front of one, it's like I have my guitar, my music, and I sing. So this is completely different, and it's not my norm. But I do tend to waffle on a bit. So I have written down what I want to say. Pardon? Okay. So, where am I going? Yeah, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity, because sometimes to tell a testimony, there isn't the avenue, there isn't anybody that wants to really know. You know, like in a normal church, you go in front of it and you say, ta-da, and nobody really, you know, it's like, yeah, let's get out of here quick, you know. So it's really good that you can give testimonies. And, I mean, without the testimony, how do you know what marvellous things, the wonderful things that Jesus does in someone's life? A testimony is part of the working of the church, and it should be there for everybody to give. As long as they have it written down so they don't waffle on. And, I mean, it's like nobody knows about the miracles of Jesus' life. Jesus does in ordinary people's lives. And I say ordinary with respect, because I am not an ordinary person, nor am I normal, as anybody who knows me knows that quite well. And frankly, I feel a bit of a fraud standing here, because it's like I didn't know what to say, really. And it was like I didn't know how far to go or how to go. And it's like, that's me. That's why I'm not normal. And it's a bit of a hard thing to kind of think, well, I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to say a word that would kind of make people cringe or anything. I mean, I could just say that I was sexually abused between the age of 4 and 6, and that was it. But you wouldn't understand about the trauma that goes through that, or the story behind it. And so I'd rather talk about the healer, obviously. but it's like, you have to, so that you'll know where I come from and where I'm going. I'll start at the beginning. I was born in England to hard-working parents, but not much love was shown there, especially to me, because I was shy, I was weak, I was a girl, and my dad didn't like girls, especially when they were weak. And he always thought that I wasn't his anyway, that my mum had had an affair with the bloke next door. So that's why I found out years later that that's why he didn't really like me. And so I was like afraid of my own shadow. And you can understand that when I say that I used to visit an older man next door. And I started when I was 4 years old. And he would sit me on his knee. And I thought, isn't this lovely? And he would take notice of me. And to a 4-year-old, hugs and it's like, oh, wow, somebody is actually taking notice of me. But then this went on for a few days. And then he started touching me in a very inappropriate place. And I was a little bit uncomfortable. It was like, where to go? I respected this man, but my 4-year-old, they have no concept. It's too young. And so it was like, I couldn't talk about it to anybody, because it was like, And then when I said I was, it was like cringing, it's okay. And of course, you're vulnerable. But it was just like to be sat on his knee. That's all I was thinking about, to be sitting on his knee. I know that might shock people, but to a 4-year-old who hasn't been given any love, not shown any love, it's like, and I didn't tell my parents, and I have no idea why I didn't. Maybe it's because I did, but they wouldn't have believed me anyway. And this went on for about 2 years, and then suddenly stopped. And he wouldn't invite me into the house, and he told me to stop visiting him. And strangely, I felt that what I'd done wrong. It's like, what had I done wrong for him to reject? Because I'd been rejecting my parents, so it was like he was rejecting me as well. And it was blame and guilt. And so naturally, because of that, I just went into a shell. And shy and timid little girl that was frightened of her own shadow. And you don't understand anything at that age. You don't. And I mean, we weren't churchgoers. We believed in God, but that was it. And all through growing up, through my teenage years, I attracted older men who wanted to touch me. And I blame myself again. What was it about me that made older men want to grab hold of me? And I felt less than nothing. I was never told I was a valued person. And I felt just the same useless thing, just there for someone's benefit. Though I do wonder now if it was some point, and I'm being honest, at least, I was being noticed. But it just took it all, I just took it all in as part of life, part of having to deal with life. And just got on, just shut up, be quiet. I got married, had 2 daughters, which I'm proud of. Still feeling I was a little less than nothing, and nobody telling me anything otherwise. But then my husband sodomized me. He thought I was asleep. And it was all those feelings, from 4 years old onwards, all those things came flooding back. Even I can relate to that in the cinema. You go to a cinema and you're sitting next to someone, you don't realise you're watching TV, watching the video screen, and somebody comes and grabs hold of you. And that happens a lot years ago. And I hope it doesn't happen anymore. So when my husband sodomized me, it was like, whoa. And it was, as I say, all those feelings came back, and it finally caught up with me. And I went to the doctor and started taking Valium, the sleeping tablets, and I became one of those pill poppers. Eventually, I left my husband. It was inevitable. And within a few years, I and my 2 daughters arrived here in Australia for a new life. At the beginning of 1985, my youngest daughter and myself arrived at Snowtown, and things went dramatically wrong, but that's another testimony. I was all on my own, not knowing what to do. I remember my mum telling me, if you're ever in trouble, go to see a policeman or a minister. The police couldn't help, so I went to the minister, and that was the best thing I ever did. It was archaic, it was the Uniting Church minister, but it was the best thing I ever did, and the right minister as well. He was so soft and gentle. But it was there that I heard about Jesus Christ. I really heard about his love and his compassion, but that he really loved me. Really loved me. That all through those times of being abused, used, controlled by men, people, and demons, he saw and grieved to tears. He wanted me just to love him. I always knew there was a God, as I said before, but for him to love me, I could go on and tell you all the times he helped me through difficult periods, but I want to tell you of one incident, something that set me free, and I believe that there's more ways of setting free than just one. In 1986, I went to Canberra to a Uniting Church SOAS course, which was School of World Evangelism and Renewal, and that's where I learned a lot. It was 3 months old, saved, and I was on fire after that. And there was one time when the lecturer gave us a chance for Father to do something in our lives that we wanted dealt with. I thought for a moment, and I thought, oh yeah, hurts of the past, childhood. So I went to the rail, knelt down, and asked for healing, and waited. Nothing happened. I thought, okay. I was very disappointed, but then the lecturer said, strange thing, what would you do if Jesus was standing right there in front of you? And I just smiled, went like that. My glasses didn't fall off then. And it was like, then I could feel it right from my toes, this like, up and through my body and out of my mouth came this biggest moan and groan. I cannot describe it. It was just like one big black ball coming out of my mouth. And I knew I was healed. I wouldn't. And everybody in the room knew because it showed on my face. And that is the most remarkable thing. The more you get to know about his loving kindness and all there is to know, it shows. And you can never, ever be the same. Never. And you may think that people can go through stuff, but it's overdone with, gone, and it was in the past, and that's where it should stay. But it needs to be dealt with. Our heart and our mind needs healing. We need a touch from the one who is there to help. You may say you don't need his help. You think that nothing can harm you. You own your own destiny. But unprotected, we suffer the consequences and walk around with baggage, a heavy load. We just don't need it. I just want to show you this picture that I've had. Many of you probably know it. I've seen it. I've had this for years. I bought it in Alice Springs. It was like from a Uniting Church. I was doing a lay preachers thing in Uniting Church, and we had to read this basis of union. And I thought, but in it was this picture, and I was looking and looking and looking, and I couldn't see Jesus. I just couldn't see it, and I'd walk away, come back again, and I'm looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, and I'm thinking, I can't see it. Then all of a sudden, I mean, you're probably the only ones that will believe me on this, but it was just like something flashed off my eyes, and I saw streak, and I saw him. It was like, wow, that's all it needs, and that's it. We have to have the veil taken off our eyes before we can see all this. Well, thank you for listening. Hope I didn't bore you too much.